Get ready for an hour filled with conspiracies, UFOs, ghosts, the paranormal, legends, and myths from around the world. Chasing Prophecy Radio, where the paranormal is supernatural. With your hosts, Sean Kelly, Jenny Nicasio, Bob Dog Pagani. Welcome to the Chasing Prophecy Radio, and here are your hosts, Sean, Bob, and Jenny.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Chasing Prophecy, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. Remember, you can rewind 24/7 on beaconlightradio.com and check out Chasing Prophecy on Facebook and Instagram. Learn about upcoming guests on chasingprophecy.com and chat with us live on Beacon Light Radio Chat. There you can rewind 24/7. Remember that. And there's a link on the chat where you can call on. It goes into Skype. So if you don't have Skype, download it. Happy Thursday to all of you. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with Sean Kelly. Sorry, Sean. And Bob Pagani, Bob Dog. Hey, guys. How's it going tonight?
I'm doing great. How about you, hon?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. What about you, Bob?
Hanging in there.
Oh, I've never been better, Jen. Never better.
Never better.
With a hint of sarcasm.
Yeah, okay. I love the sarcasm. It makes me smile. Any nightmares last week?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, in fact, it was like back to back. The first nightmare I had, it was like, I'd had an out-of-body experience. And there were two lions in my backyard eating people. The second one happened last night. It was really creepy. I dreamed it was like a bunch of Vikings attacked my house and pillaged my house.
Oh my God.
And they were coming after me. I don't have a clue why. It was like so real. Like I had another out-of-body experience. And I was like right there watching it happen. It really, really freaked me out. And whenever I get like that, I come out of it real quick. And boy, I could not get back to sleep at all. It just was really, really, really freaked me out.
That sounds
It even
scary.
freaked me out more about the lions.
Oh, I bet. Bob, did you have anything weird happen? Any shadow people?
No nightmares, but
no shadow people?
No shadow people, but actually my nightmare begins at about 5 a.m. when I turn the daily news on before work.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't even listen
begins.
to it. You shouldn't listen to the news. Well, I mean, you try not to. I mean, it can really mess you up that way. Well, we did have a really interesting show last week with our discussion on sleep paralysis. And I would love to know how many of our listeners had nightmares or visits from shadow people. If you did and want to tell us about it, please give us a call. Remember, hit that link. We have a special guest tonight. But first, I have a few things I'd like to mention. Okay. I was trying to find something to watch last weekend, and there was nothing on the television except news on, and I came across a show called Paranormal Caught on Camera. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. It's on, I think it's on almost every weekend they have it, and it's on the Travel Channel. Have you seen it? Have you seen it, Sean?
Yes, I have many a times, really.
Well, they have some really,
like it.
Yeah, they have some really scary footage. So you do watch it then?
Yes, I do. And what I like about it, because being in the paranormal field for over 30 years, I like to debunk it, see if it's actually legit or not legit.
So you're like that skeptic.
I would say maybe 4 out of 10 are some very good ones. The other ones are setups that people do.
Set up? You think they're set up? What about you, Bob? Have you ever saw it?
Absolutely.
I have seen it, and some of the more interesting ones I've seen is people that were doing like a lifetime YouTube video or something for an advertisement or for family or something, and then something strange would happen behind them, unbeknownst to them until somebody brought it to their attention. And there was some scary stuff.
Yeah,
scary stuff.
I think that's when you actually see it when you don't expect to see it. It's like it's like hidden in a picture. My son always finds these crazy things, but they had some. I mean, it was really creepy. And I'll tell you, there was a couple of the videos. One was at a hospital, and I was kind of freaked out to go when I went to bed that night. It was really scared me, and I had to turn the lights on as I went up, upstairs. But if you ever catch anything, and you caught something, anything paranormal, ghost, UFO, or something creepy on a video or picture, please post it to our Facebook page, and then we'll discuss them on the next upcoming show. I think that would be a really cool thing.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Also, I just wanted to let our listeners know every first Thursday starting in September is going to be a free for all paranormal. The whole show will be devoted to our audience where we can call in and report anything paranormal, any kind of activity, sightings, strange things in the sky, anything, missing 411 cases, or we'll discuss legends and myths. So that's going to start July 2nd with Sean. We're going to talk about Sean and his paranormal society. And that's going to be like an open, we'll just talk about anything. So any callers can call in and we'll just discuss things. And you can tell us about, Sean, you can tell us about your paranormal society investigations, past, present, and future. And
I'd
maybe
be happy to do that.
that'll be awesome. Maybe even have your crew with you. So that would be cool. So
I
you think
think
that's
I can make that happen.
okay, great. Well, moving on. I couldn't sleep the other night. While scrolling on Facebook, I came across this Facebook Live, and I'm not sure if any of you guys, any listeners if you've heard of him. Dave, I'm not really sure how I'm pronouncing his name. It's David Said Ever Live Facebook page. I might be killing his last name. One of the chats posted a tweet by a person called Nick R at You Are Awaken. And I'm not familiar with him or his beliefs, although I was so intrigued for what he was what I was reading. He posted a Twitter feed, and I'm going to read it because I thought it was really crazy. And the original tweeter posted it, oh gosh, it was on, I think 2 nights ago. And there were also FBI docs by it. So here we go. This is what it said. It said, at John F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday, they show why he had to stage his death and disappear. After being posted, Twitter shut down the account. He also stated that a big announcement was coming and sooner than previously planned. It's happening, share. Wow. What do you guys think about that? I don't know if I believe in anything like that, conspiracy that John F. Kennedy Jr. is alive or not, but I love these conspiracy theories. So what do you guys think about it?
I think he is alive, to be honest with you. I do believe that with so much, dirty laundry and stuff like that in Washington, D.C., definitely. And he's out for revenge. I do believe that wholeheartedly. It was an interesting feed.
Bob, what do you
And
think?
Bob,
Well, Jen, you and I had discussed this previously, and
I know.
I'm pretty certain he perished in the water that particular night, and I've read a lot up on it, and nothing. It would take a heck of a lot to convince me otherwise.
Well, I thought that too but I started going on all these different YouTube videos and I went further into this guy's Twitter account, and he has 180-page original FBI documentation that is on the FBI's website. And there was a couple plans to kidnap JFK Jr. There's an article, and I'm pretty sure I posted it earlier on the website, but it is really in depth. And I looked over it, and I don't know, there were some things in there that really scared me. And I also read in there that there was a threat by Joe Biden to JF Kennedy Jr. There were police reports. So I went back to the Facebook Live link and started seeing all kind of phrases: the awakening, the alliance. I thought I was reading a chapter in my from the sky, a chapter in the novel, because I do talk about the alliance, but I had no idea what I was. It's like I was having this psychic, premonition or something. And the further I read, the more terms that I've never heard of, like cabal, and I know of the deep state, but I never heard of this term. And I talked to Jennifer, the producer, about it a while ago. QAnon. I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing that.
QAnon.
QAnon, and I talked to Jen about that. But Sean, Bob, we have a special guest who's going to help us understand a lot of this stuff. So he's going to help us understand it and our listeners to what it means. And if you already know about it, you might have a better understanding by the end of the show. But that's where we go into our wonderful, famous guest, Dave Bara. He's a famous sci-fi author, conspiracy theorist, a host of On the Edge with Dave Bara. He's authored the Lightship Chronicle series from Daw Books, including Impulse, Starbound, and Defiant. His other works include St. Cochrane's Word. I probably screwing that up too.
Yeah.
Speed. Okay, you can repeat. You can go ahead and fix it for me. Speedwing.
Speedwing. Yeah, that's a young adult novel, sci-fi novel. So yeah.
He's got so many cool books. Chronicles of David. Dave grew up a fan of the Gemini and Apollo space program and dreamed of being an astronaut one day. Since that time, he's restricted his journeys into space to the written word. He lives in Washington, about 25 miles from Seattle. His book, Impulse, may mirror real life someday. After I read that, Impulse is an adventure action story set about 700 years from now, when mankind is just emerging from a dark age caused by a destructive civil war. There are many fractions of fighting for control in this new age and young adult book. And I met Dave last year, I'd say about August on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was on his show. And so, Dave, welcome to Chasing Prophecy. I'm so glad to have you in the house.
Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Well, considering those 25 miles between where I am and where Seattle is have never been more precious to me than they are today. Yeah, how am I doing? I'm doing okay. The rest of my area here is struggling quite a bit with getting their heads out of their butts and trying to maintain get some form of leadership and things like that. It's a pretty bad situation, but it's what I've kind of become used to over the years from living here. But I'm doing good.
Well, I was watching the news and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And that's when I was watching it and I texted or Facebook messaged you. How far are you from Seattle? Because this is crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is crazy stuff. And, I grew up in the city in a place called West Seattle, which is kind of a little peninsula that sticks out over the Elliott Bay, which is famous waterfront of Seattle. And I grew up in the city. I went to the city public schools, elementary school, junior high, and high school. And it's just really been sad and difficult to watch it go downhill so badly. And I think Seattle's now at a place where hopefully, I don't really want to be here anymore. I'd rather go someplace that makes a little more sense. But, having grown up in the city, it's pretty difficult to watch my city basically go under because there are people that can't exhibit simple leadership. So it's pretty tough.
It is pretty tough. And I neglected to say that you are the host of On the Edge with Dave Bara.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. I listened to it last night. And let me tell you, buddy, I had a hard time figuring out who was talking because your brother, Mike, was on the show.
Yeah, we're twins, and we do sound a lot alike. People have told me my voice is a little deeper than his, so that's about the only way you can tell us apart. They claimed we weren't identical twins, but I think we both think as we've gotten older that we in fact are identical twins. But
you guys look alike and you sound alike, and it was really difficult for me to figure out who was doing the talking, but it was a great show. Your show was a great precursor to tonight's show. A lot of cool stuff was mentioned, and I want to touch upon those topics. But first, I want to discuss your work. Okay.
Okay.
I just finished listening to Impulse. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to tell you, I'm jealous. I just can't believe it. You have accomplished what every writer dreams about. You did it, Dave. You did it. You did it.
It is very hard to get into publishing, but it really was always a dream of mine. I mean, I've talked this over with my brother at length, and I think we were both born and came into the world at a time when space science fiction was very, very important. And I do think we were both destined to do something in this arena.
Getting back to, so what did you do? Because that's, like I said, I was never fortunate enough to get picked up by one of the big fives.
Well, not yet.
Well, not yet.
There's
Well,
still plenty of time.
I always seemed like I didn't have an agent. So do you have an agent?
I do have an agent. My agent is named Joshua Bilms, and he's out of New York with Jabberwocky Literary Agency. And he's probably one of the top one or two agents for science fiction and fantasy in New York. Very well known. He's been around for a long time. Some of his clients are, what was the name of the show? True Blood on HBO.
Oh, my God.
Wrote those books.
Oh, Charlene Harris.
He's her agent. And so there's a lot of famous
lucky, man.
stablemates.
Jealous. Hook me up with one of them agents.
That's part of what we do. That can be done.
Seriously.
But basically, I set myself some goals around 2005 when I got really serious about it. I told myself, okay, in 5 years, I either want to have a book contract or I want to have a top literary agent. So I got the agent in 4 years. It took me 4 years to get that. And I originally had written what became Impulse. It was called Reunion Day at the time. And that's what initially got him hooked. And so we worked on that manuscript, he and I together, for about a year. And then he sent it out to all the major publishers and about 7 or 8 different places. That's awesome. And then we waited. We waited for about 3 years. And then suddenly, after 3 years, there were multiple offers on the table. One from the UK, 3 here in the United States. Wow. And it's like, yeah, you wait all this time. And then by the time we signed the deal and everything, the book wasn't going to be published until 2015. So it actually took about 8 years from the time I started writing it till it was actually out. But and that's kind of sometimes how it works in the business. It's not an easy business, and they're tough on you, and you sometimes have to make changes to stories and things you hadn't planned on. But
Dave, I want to say this is amazing, and I wish I would have been as patient as you. My problem was I'm not patient, and I want it now. I don't want to wait, and I got screwed by 3 different publishers, and then that's when I just said heck with it and did it myself. But bravos to you. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Getting back to Impulse,
right.
How similar is the main character? Pete? Is it Peter? I can't remember.
Yeah.
How similar is it you to him?
I would say that, well, he's a lot more confident, athletic, and adventurous than I am. But besides those,
you live vicariously through him, huh?
Yeah, I think mainly the biggest similarity between he and I is sort of we look at the world and the universe the same way morally, if you will. I mean, I always loved books that had heroes growing up, and I always believed I still believe in heroes. I'm still waiting to see if we have any in the modern era. But I think I have strong belief in that type of person, that people, when they're challenged, can rise to the occasion and become, something more than maybe they would have otherwise. And he's someone who could have lived an easy life, a life of luxury, but he chose not to. And I think that's probably the same type of decision I would have made were I him. So, he's similar in that way. I was a lot different person at the age that, he was 23 basically when the book starts. And I was a lot different person at 23 than he is. He's a lot more mature, but then I have the advantage of years looking back and being able to make the character see things that I probably didn't see myself when I was living through those years. So, but really it's an action adventure story. In a lot of ways, it's a coming of age type of story. And look, he's a young guy. He likes the girls. He likes, shooting things up, and he's pretty adventurous. And so I think it was a good character to write. I've still got something left for him somewhere down the line, but I think it worked out in the end about as good as it could for him.
When the story starts out, he mentions his brother's death,
right,
Derek. Now you have a twin, like your twin brother. How did that impact you writing it?
Well, honestly, it really didn't affect me that much because I refer to that as the dead brother rewrites. We were getting pretty close on the deal and everything and the books, and they needed something they felt to motivate him some more. So I came up with, I always knew he had an older brother. He was always a second son, which if you go back to medieval times, the second son was often, shuffled off to the court of some foreign duke or something like that. It happened quite often. And they never really inherited what the father, the father's titles and stuff. You look back at royal society in Europe. And for him, he never really planned on being the guy put into being, the lead for his whole family and all that stuff. And although he doesn't get a lot of the advantages that they got back in those days, he gets a lot of the responsibilities. So in writing it, I was like, okay, well, how is this going to affect him suddenly being burdened with all these responsibilities? And so that's kind of how I approached it. For my own brother, he's kind of a contemporary with me, so I don't have like the respect that I would have maybe for an older brother. He's just my bro. And so it didn't really impact how I wrote that or how I approached it because it was a different kind of relationship.
Cool.
So,
well, I can understand. Well, you're twins, so you're basically the same age. So
yeah, basically we have had a lot of shared experience.
A best friend. I mean, he's your best friend, right?
Yeah. Oh, I always, when I was growing up, I always had somebody I could beat in basketball. So I beat up quite a bit.
And beat up.
Yeah, and beat up.
Are you the one that beat him up, or did he beat you up?
No, mostly it was me, I think, and I was the top guy there. And but he was really good at tennis. He was really, really good at tennis, but I'd still beat him quite often because I just simply refused to lose. So it was. If any part of the racket was fair game for me, but he's a very good tennis player and always better than me. So
that's cool. Hey, Bob, do you have a question or Sean have a question for him before I take all the questions? Because I have so many I could spend all night.
You're doing it. Splendid job, Jen.
You are doing
splendid job.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Dave.
Yeah.
When did you decide you wanted to be was growing up sci-fi? I mean, that's a tough one because sci-fi is a tough one to write.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, some of my earliest memories besides a couple of family memories that I have, the earliest memories I have are of the space program.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely remember when let's see how old I am, when John F. Kennedy was killed, and there was a lot of very somber music on radio and television. I don't remember many details, but I remember, I remember the space program. And so it's always been kind of in my blood. I started reading science fiction very seriously in my early teens, late primary years, like 10, 11, 12. I read younger stuff. And as I got into my teens, I started reading more mature stuff. I tried reading Dune when I was about 13 or 14, and that was way over my head. So I didn't get that. It's a fantastic book, but which I learned to appreciate over the years. But I probably read somewhere nature of 400 or 500 books, anything I could get my hands on between about 12 and 18.
That's why you're such a great author.
Well, I'm stealing from everybody. I'm probably stealing from guys that have been dead for years and don't know that I'm stealing from them. But I mean, I don't even know that I'm stealing it, right? But you do absorb all this stuff, and you kind of get a feel for style and for what kinds of things you want to write yourself. What did you like? What did you not like? So in many ways, it's that type of experience. It's a sort of, you absorb this great, collection of stories, and I think that does channel through you and come out when you're writing.
Well, you do it wonderfully. I have
Thanks.
to say that. I can't believe I have a friend that's a famous writer. I'm so
Jen,
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Sure.
good. Go for it.
You're big on the space program and
Right.
the sci-fi and whatnot, and it just throw it out there. Did we land on the moon in 1969, or was it all fabricated?
You know, it's a good thing my brother's not in here because he'd get really mad right about now. Yes, we landed on the moon. We went to the moon. We went there all, 5 or 6 times on those missions. I remember as a kid that being able to stand outside on my back porch with my dad and my brother, and we got my dad's binoculars, which he brought home with him from World War II, and looking up in the sky and being able to see the NASA, the Apollo 11 command module coming back to Earth. So we definitely went. There were plenty of good reasons to go. Those weren't necessarily the reasons that were shared with the public. But I think them trying to say that we never actually went is trying to cover up for the real reasons that we did actually go, which are that there's a ton of stuff on the moon that's artificial and it's not ours. It belonged to somebody else. And a lot of those missions were there specifically to get stuff to bring back for us
Yes,
to look
I've
at.
heard that, I'm in the process of reading a book called Moonshot right now, and
Right.
it's about landing on the moon and the guys that actually did it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, but
And
at least we went.
most of the astronauts, if you when they're asked directly, if you watch their body language, they did this thing. Now it was cut short in the official program. The Apollo program was shut down. Did we continue to go to the moon after that secretly on military missions? I believe we did. I believe we've been there many, many times. We may even have people up there on bases already. And maybe have for quite a long time. It's going to the moon is not that difficult in terms of, we're doing it for the first time, right? When the Apollo missions came along, it's the first time anybody had actually tried to get there. Right. And so as time has gone on, I think it's probably something that's relatively easy to do if you apply the proper funds and the proper engineering to the task. It's not that difficult, but people continue to have problems. The nation of India tried to land a lander on the moon, and it suddenly got off course a couple miles above the surface and crashed into the ground. Well, I think there's a reason why it got off course, but no one in their space program maybe knows what that reason is. So, there's a lot of conspiracies around the moon, but I'm pretty sure we went. I'm sure it was to gather a lot more than just rocks.
Why don't you tell us what they were gathering, Dave?
Well, you should go to my brother, some of my brother's books. I hate to keep giving him free publicity, but he writes about this stuff. I speculate about it. He writes about it in depth. He does a lot of research. That's his bailiwick. Mine is writing sci-fi.
Alien technology?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a picture of there's one that's most famous to me. It's in a book called, it's sitting right here in front of me, believe it or not. It's called Ancient Aliens on the Moon. And this is one of the first books he wrote for the publisher. And there's hundreds of pictures in here, many, many pictures. But there's one in particular for, I believe it was Apollo 14. I'm not sure if I'm getting this right, and he'll kill me if I tell him the wrong one. But there's a crater near where they went on Apollo 14, I think. And it's called Shorty Crater. Don't know why it's called Shorty Crater, but that's what it's called. Inside this crater, there is what appears to be a robotic head that looks like a human head. It's got eyes, it's got a mouth, it's got a nose, but it looks to be mechanical in nature. And No. And that's right on the Apollo photographs, by the way. There's bazillions of Apollo photographs that have these weird anomalies on them. But that's one of the ones that's most interesting to me. You, in the color versions of the photo, you can even, when you close up on it, you can even see there's a red stripe across the top of what would be the mouth area of this thing. It definitely does not look like a rock. And it's a red stripe on the moon. Red is not a color that appears on the moon. Okay. So it looked to be completely, it looks many, many things, but especially in that book, he covers a lot of different things. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff up there. I personally think that it's from a previous human civilization that lived up there. I mean, a lot of people have written about this. Edgar Cayce talked about this, but I believe there was a higher civilization on Earth many thousands of years ago there was some kind of physical catastrophe that happened. And that may have been some type of pole shift, or it may have been a meteor strike or something, but essentially kind of reset everything and destroyed that civilization. That's what I believe. Wow. And I've come to believe that in my later years. I wasn't that way as a kid, obviously, but boy, there's enough weird stuff up there to keep you busy for a long, long time.
So you think that they were a higher powered civilization that was like destroyed somewhat?
Yeah.
Like where we're going right now.
I think it was probably maybe 100 years more advanced than us, than we are today at the time that this happened. But, we're in the same peril every day, too. I mean, a comet or a meteor that's large enough could hit and basically wipe out our civilization pretty easily. And that can happen almost any time. Now, I don't know all the details. There's lots of speculation about that. And it is kind of sci-fi-like. I might want to take a shot at writing about it in fictionally.
That would be awesome.
Someday. But there's too much stuff both on the moon and on Mars to not look at it and think, wow, there's something weird going on in both those places for sure.
That's totally awesome.
I believe didn't NASA leave a lot of stuff on the moon also? I mean, we left stuff up there. So if
this is an interesting thing too. And I think Mike talks about this in Ancient Aliens on the Moon as well. But one of the things we left up there was basically a seismometer, and also a device that would basically kind of cause a moonquake, an earthquake on the moon, if you will. And we left that up there. And after they'd been back from the Apollo programs, they turned this thing on, and it made the sonic sound it was supposed to make. And the interior of the moon rang like a bell for something like 3 days. That would imply that the interior of the moon was hollow. And it's another bizarre story, but it's actually it's science. It was done by NASA. And so those are the types of things that make you think, yeah, what did we leave up there? What did we, and since then, really, I mean, it's been almost more than 50 years since we first landed on the moon. And do I think the military has been back to the moon? Yeah, I think they have many, many times, probably.
We opened the show talking about the Twitter post about JFK Jr. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, again, Mike on his YouTube channel, Mike Bara, Bara. He's done a lot of work on this, and I've seen his work. This is a good thing about having him as a brother. I get to watch him work a lot now. His mind works, and I'll say this, okay? The woman who is supposed to be JFK Jr.'s wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. I've seen enough video and pictures of her and compared her to what Carolyn Bessette looked like when they supposedly were killed to say that it's the same woman 20 years on. And in one picture, she's even wearing a ring that was given to JFK Jr. from his mother, Jackie Onassis Kennedy. Oh. And she's got this ring on at one of the Trump rallies that she's at. No question about it. That's something you guys should really go check out. It's pretty cool. But there's no question that to me that it's the same woman. She has the same ears, the same nose, the same teeth, the same smile. She's got a terrific smile, and she's wearing this ring that's literally is identical to this ring, the heirloom ring that Jackie Onassis passed down to her son. As for JFK Jr., I'm not sure what's going to happen with all of that. Mike has done an analysis of this guy, Vincent Fusca, who is supposedly John F. Kennedy Jr. in disguise or something. And I think the thing that's pretty freaky for me about it, not only are the eyes in the exact same spot and the mouth and the chin, not only is all of that stuff, he had 22 years of time to his age then, which I think was 38 or something to that nature. And he looks like he could be a 50-year-old, a man that's, in his 50s rather than younger. He'd be about my age. But the freaky thing is Mike has compared the guy's hands. And there are veins in this guy's hands that match the exact same pattern as the veins in John F. Kennedy Jr. And there's no way, you can't fake that, and you can't really make that happen in terms of, makeup or disguise or anything. It's something that either is or isn't. And that's what's creepy about it. Do I think he will be revealed? I think it's possible. I am hearing that things are going to happen in the next few weeks on July 3rd, around possibly the 4th, and also on the 5th. So I do think that one of those things could be John F. Kennedy Jr., but I think that may actually happen later.
Okay. So why would he fake his death?
The Clintons were trying to kill him.
Thank you.
And if you know anything about the Clintons and how many people have accidentally, committed suicide around them. I think it's up to 56 people that knew them have died, and probably 56. Probably more now. A lot more than you or I would know casually that had died. The rumor was that they had gotten wind of the fact that Hillary was going to try to kill him because he was going to run for the New York Senate seat in the year 2000. And of course, if he had done that, he would have destroyed Hillary in an election. He would have won hands down, and she would have faded into history at that point, probably. So there was this rumor, supposedly, that they knew there was a plot, and so they created an elaborate ruse, a hoax, to escape and basically live underground. And the rumors are also that they had help from a very rich man who happens to be the president of the United States.
Right? Oh my, Trump.
So he was very good friends with JFK Jr. There's a lot of photos of them together at basketball games, all kinds of things. So they were very close. The really odd stuff that you can get into is there's actually like a recording, of supposedly an FAA spokesman on Martha's Vineyard. And the guy talking is saying, the plane went down in this much water and we're not sure if we're going to be able to find it, blah, 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 blah. And somebody took that recording and compared it to a recording of John F. Kennedy Jr.'s voice. And they're virtually identical. It's like John F. Kennedy Jr. was faking reporting about his fake death on the news. It's from a CNN clip. It's pretty amazing.
Hey, where can you still listen to this tape?
You can get this stuff on the internet. People have it. It's better.
I have to do some serious research on this.
Oh, you do. Let me tell you, the rabbit hole is deep and it's dark and there's a lot of weirdness there. But if you start looking at it from the context of they were trying to escape being murdered, then I think it makes a lot of sense. So
it's just about the Senate. It's not nothing else. That he ran a newspaper, a magazine. Maybe they were going to do an explosive.
Yeah, he did run a magazine.
Yeah, a magazine called George. And
right.
They could have run exposés on the Clintons at any time they wanted. But I do think they were looked at as opposition to Hillary. And I think what you have to look at is you have to look at the alignment between the Bush family, the Clintons, the Obamas, It's pretty stark if you go back through the history. It's pretty amazing when you look at some of the old photographs. I mean, there's photographs of Bill Clinton when he's barely 20 years old and he's sitting at a like a picnic table outside next to George Herbert Walker Bush, the older President Bush. And he's sitting there. He's like 18, 19, 20 years old. And he's sitting there next to George H.W. Bush. Well, how would he possibly know him?
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of connections between these families. And John F. Kennedy was always an outsider. And he made himself an outsider. And thus he made himself a target of the people on the inside. If you want to call them the deep state or the cabal or whatever you want to call them, he definitely made himself a target. And I think JFK Jr. was probably a target as well.
Okay, for people who don't know, because I don't know what the cabal is, I just started learning what Q is. Well, I want you to explain this stuff to us because I'd like to know more about it, and I'm sure our audience would too.
Well, the cabal, as it's called, is really a name for an international group, probably, that's old bloodline families, royal families. You've heard the names before, Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Habsburgs. These families are still in control of many, many central banks around the world. And they control basically the world financial system through these central banks. The United States, of course, central bank is the Federal Reserve, which is not a public bank. It is not a bank of the United States. It's a private bank owned by all these different people. So all the money that's going around the world and being taken from people goes through this central bank scheme, which has been around for a couple hundred years now. How QAnon fits in, they started about 2017. It was a group started about October of 2017, and they think it's more than one person. It probably is more than one person. It's a group of people that I believe are probably patriots. And what they are doing is sharing information and giving people tips about things that might be coming. And also making sometimes predictions about things that might happen in the future. And some of them come true. There are a lot of people that believe wholeheartedly in Q and what they call Q proofs. I'm not quite so sure about all of it. I do think there's a group of people out there trying to do good for the country, but they also could be trying to distract us from what's really going on. So I'm not 100% sold on them yet because I haven't seen arrests and things of that nature of people that we know have committed crimes, whether it be the Russian hoax or attempted coup. There's been a lot of activity that's been done. Lying, FBI agents lying, FBI directors lying in front of Congress. That's been well documented, and these people should probably be in jail already. And you probably know all the names, but Q is more about getting that stuff out. So Q is interesting to read. I take everything with a grain of salt, not a huge grain of salt, let's say a small grain of salt. But I do think that they are the Q group of people that are working for the good of the country, and they're having to work behind the scenes because the deep state, which is the name we kind of give the group here in the United States, is very, very deep. It runs through Hollywood and the entertainment industry. It runs through the music industry. It runs through politics, judges, every kind of, State Department, all kinds of areas like that. A lot of the COVID stuff, I think, is deep state propaganda. It's not actual fact. So it's a very big, pervasive, de facto form of government that has taken over the United States. People don't understand that there really is. There's two different types of government. A de facto government is what we have now, which is the people that are in power appear to be the real people running the country. and they are running the country, but they're not legitimate. They're not part of the Republic of the United States. There's a corporate entity called the United States of America Corporation. And Donald Trump is currently the chief executive. That's why they call him the nation's chief executive. He's chief executive of the United States of America Corporation. So that's what's running your government. And it's happened a lot because if you go back into the Civil War times, when those states, the southern states, left the United States, left the Union, as they like to say, basically the government at that point, the republic ended at that point. And to bring them back in, they had to invent a new system. And that new system was to incorporate the federal government and incorporate states. That's why whenever a city is formed, a new jurisdiction is formed, they call it incorporation, because literally they are making a corporation. So it's a very pervasive, the deep state is. It goes way back, more than 100, probably 150 years to around the Civil War time or even before. The United States has always been under the influence of foreign banking interests because they controlled a lot of things back in the day. So, I mean, when you get into it, it goes really, really deep. I would just recommend starting at the beginning. What do you want to look up about? What do you want to find out about? You want to find out about our government? You want to find out about our military? You want to find out about, all these different factions, Hollywood. I think that's pretty well known that Hollywood's just a cesspool of pedophilia and all kinds of other things. So, it goes pretty deep. And as I get older, I'm starting to recognize these things a little bit more. So that's a good thing, I guess.
So it all goes back to, it seems like it started, like the QAnon, it started back when Donald Trump was running and we had WikiLeaks. And it goes back to then.
I think a lot of the WikiLeaks stuff is related to the Q stuff. I think maybe it was a precursor. With the Q stuff, I'm pretty confident, or the WikiLeaks stuff, I'm pretty confident that they know all these emails that Hillary Clinton had and that other people like John Podesta, who are all hopefully going to go to prison someday soon. WikiLeaks had all these emails. They were not, Julian Assange has even said publicly, no state actor, Russia did not steal these emails and give them to me. They were probably downloaded from a Democratic National Committee worker by the name of Seth Rich, who was later murdered and probably given to Julian Assange at that time. And that's probably where I got all these emails from. They're out there, and I think there are people in the government and in the Justice Department that know everything that's in there, and I think it's pretty damning stuff. So,
yeah, a lot of people are giving up on QAnon because they keep promising, there's going to be arrests, and it never happens.
And Mike and I, my brother and I, have discussed that as well, and it is frustrating. I mean, a lot of times they refer to what's going on as a chess game, right, between the good guys and the bad guys. Well, in a chess game, you have to start seeing some players come off the table. You have to start seeing some pawns or some rooks or some lesser pieces that come off the table. And so far, none of them really have come off the table. There have been a lot of arrests of people that are not famous, but there's a lot of very famous government officials and people like that could be arrested and probably should be arrested for high crimes. And that just hasn't happened. So that's caused, I think, a bit of a crisis of confidence. And, now we're 4 months out from another federal election, and it just seems like the propaganda on the news media is continuing to just batter everybody. We're not seeing anything happening in the public forum that really gives me confidence anyway that there's going to be action taken before this all goes into an election, which at this point, it's 50-50. I think if it was a fair election, Donald Trump will win by a large margin. But it's not going to be a fair election. They're already setting things up with the mail-in balloting and all that stuff to cheat on a massive level, which is what they're going to have to do. to get a Democrat elected.
Yeah. Either way, I don't know if it's going to be. For either way, it's going to be a good outcome. I think it's going to be chaos when it does happen.
Yeah.
Either way it goes.
So let me tell you. So before, we're getting a little late here. I understand that, but what I wanted to share with you is just a couple of rumors that I've heard, and they're only rumors, so take them with a very large grain of salt. But supposedly, like I said, there's something's going to happen around the 4th of July, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. What I'm hearing, one of the rumors I've heard is that on the 3rd, Donald Trump will inform the American public that the U.S. has been governed by a corporation for 150 years, that corporation is now bankrupt, and that the original Republic of the United States has now been restored to power. That's one of the rumors that I've heard. On the 5th, supposedly, a man who claims to be the King of England, the true King of England, who can trace his roots back to Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII. Supposedly, this guy's going to be announced as the new King of England on the 5th of July. This is one of the rumors that I've heard. And if you look at what's happening over in the UK, the Queen left Buckingham Palace, which has been the traditional seat of power of the English monarchs for a long time. She's left Buckingham Palace. She's gone someplace else. We're not really sure where she is. And the royal crest has vanished from the front of Buckingham Palace. So really hard to say what's going on, but there's a lot of things in motion. It's very fluid right now, and I think we'll know a lot between now and the election. I think we're going to know a lot more than we know right now.
Wow. Well, I could sit here all night and listen to you, but we can't. Yes. We're getting down to the number. So, Dave, it was a pleasure having you on tonight. Where can listeners learn more about you?
They can find me on Facebook. They can find out. I have an author page, and I have a public page on Facebook. The author page is Dave Bara SF Author, so you can find me there. Twitter, I'm on Twitter as D Bara Writer Guy. I have a website which is really badly out of date that I need to update. That's www.davebara.info. And of course, my books and all that type of stuff is available on Amazon and lots of other places as well.
So, well, great. Well, it was great to have you tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
See you
sure.
again.
Thank you, guys.
Dave.
You guys, it's about that time. You can check out my author page on Amazon for my trilogy. And guys, next week we have producer director of Kecksburg. He'll be on the show. And I want to thank all you guys for tuning in tonight. And go to my page. There's a link there for a 5% discount on HempWorks for our first responders. Remember, you can rewind 24/7 on beaconlightradio.com. And thanks for joining us tonight.